So thank you everyone for coming to this session. We're looking at transforming shame in the context of sharing stories and how a story can help as a springboard to help us to process shame. Out of the box is something that's grown out of something called deep talk, which has grown out of something called godly play, which has grown out of other things. There's nothing new under the sun, but we're a movement of storytellers which are using this way of storytelling in different contexts. So I thought, just to begin with, we'd show our little film, which is just about 3.5 minutes long, looking at what is out of the box. So hopefully this will work. If it doesn't, then we won't show the film, but I'm just going to see if this will work. So Out of the Box has this inherent belief that inside all of us, we have an inner wisdom. Some people call it the true self, and that self is compassionate, courageous, curious, and seeks connection with everything around us. And so it's just a way of showing people by creating a space where we can be courageous and curious. And then that inner self comes out and we know it, we rediscover it. The storyteller holds a space which is calm, which enables people to feel that they belong, it's inclusive, that people are heard. It's all relational. Everything about Out of the Box is about relationships. Into that space, a storyteller will share a story, very short story, and they're inspired by different spiritual traditions, folk tales, maybe some good children's literature. But the important thing is that they'll be using objects. So objects could be stones or leaves, or things that come out of a box, which is why it's also called Out of the Box. And the story's there as a springboard for us to tell our own stories, and maybe then to take that story and change it, make new endings for it. You see this at work with the children in schools, where they take the story off into all sorts of different imaginative places and are processing their own stories through that and working things out through play together. All sorts of people in all sorts of contexts are using Out of the Box. Really anywhere where dialogue is important, that's inner dialogue and dialogue between people. So you might be using it with people with dementia, you might be using it in prisons or with toddler groups, you might be using it on retreats, all sorts of ways, and we have interest groups in that online community so that you can connect with people who are also using Out of the Box. And Out of the Box will evolve as our members use it and share ideas. So we are a movement of storytellers that want to work together to find out all the different ways that this philosophy, this way of being can help people in different contexts. It's always about asking the question, what works here? How can I serve this person or this group? How can I use the principles of holding this safe and brave and kind and playful space to enable people to be well? Our world desperately needs people who can be truly themselves. We need dialogue in our societies which are so divided and polarised. And so we invite people to join us in this exploration. So I'm just leaving that there, and I thought just for the next 5 minutes I would just give an example of a story. We don't have time to do a whole session, so a whole session you probably got the impression there that, well, we have to build the circle. We've done a bit of building circle before we pressed record, didn't we? So we learned a bit about ourselves and said what we enjoy doing. Then the story is shared, which is the bit I'm going to do. Then we do some wondering about it. Ask, I wonder what you like, what you don't like about the story, and what does this story remind you of? And then we do something sometimes called community play, where we use the metaphor of the story, and maybe some individual response time. You saw the children in that video doing their own response time in the hall. But I'm just going to show you with the story bit, and then that will hopefully lead into some discussion about how stories can help us process shame. Okay, so I'm going to change my video so that you can see the story. You might want to pin me or maybe put on speaker view just so that we see the story big.
Yeah, I've done that.
Okay, great. So the story is large on people's screens. So are you ready for a story? Let's turn this upside down. Your story. My story. Our story. Let's be curious about this story. There was once a person who loved to play by the water. They would go into the water and scoop things up. And tip them away again. One day, something happened. And they didn't know what to do with it. So they hid it in the bucket and took it with them. It grew. Got bigger. until they felt they couldn't manage anymore. A friend was playing in the water. They noticed that the person was carrying a heavy load. Together, they looked at it. The friend listened. And they went to find something in the water together. Let's be curious. I wonder what you like. I wonder what you don't like about the story. And I wonder what this story reminds you of. So we would do the wandering together, and then it might be that after that, the metaphor of what this thing could be explored as a one-to-one or as a group. What this could be all sorts of things. So we don't even need to name that. The person themselves can be taking that meaning wherever they need to take it. In community play, we sometimes take everything away from the story. So once we've wondered about it, we take the bucket and this thing, put them back, put the friend and the person back, and then create a landscape of how we're feeling together. So it might be that we ask, so what does your day feel like? Or what does your life, or what does your community feel like? And people might say, oh, it feels like a mountaintop, or it feels like a big valley, or there's all sorts of things that, or they might use these shapes, or if we're doing it in the woods, then you might use leaves and whatever, create landscapes together, and then bring the metaphor of the story in, however the guide feels that where the group needs to go. And then finally, when we've created this landscape and we've thought about what the bucket is or what the thing is, people are invited to place themselves into the story. So somebody may decide they're down here in the valley or up with the bucket on the mountaintop. And then we could ask, where's your other self? So there are things, little people that are in the box. So I might be here, but I might also be here in the water, swimming in the water. So then there's a chance for selves to talk with each other. So what's your inner self, or this self saying to this self? There's all sorts of therapeutic ways that you can use this story as a springboard to then connect with our own stories. So I think that's all I wanted to say to sort of introduce this. And then we're going into sort of conversation about it, or about storying in general.
Okay, I'm going to stop the recording then, I think.